thing that you will do once there is no longer, okay, go to the movies, travel to Bahamas. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I want to see. I want to see. Meet with friends, pray together, take my family out, go to Devon House and eat ice cream, praise the Lord and travel. Well, I think you're still praising the Lord even now, but the travel part, yes, I understand that. Okay, so that's it. We don't have any more bucket list items. All right, visit with family overseas, just walk freely on the road without a mask. Yes, without a mask. We all can do that, right? Travel. Reverend Ray, how are you doing? You know, it's interesting. I'm so happy to be here. Let me tell you why. The last time I met in a church setting like this was with the young adults, right? On, I think it was March 28th. And tell us I come under one piece of attack with my health, which went downhill from there, right? In April. On April 1, it went downhill. So to be here now is a blessing and I'm really grateful. Go to the beach. All right, me too. Yeah, I love the beach. And I love to travel. Don't want to wear any mask. I'm with you on that one. I would say yes to Devon House, but of course I stopped eating ice cream because I'm all vegan now as a result of that health challenge. So yeah. All right. So let's move on to the meat of the matter. I want to start us off on the right footing. And thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate your thoughts. Just to break the ice up a little bit so that we don't, we feel a little more relaxed as we go through until 12 noon today. We're going to be having a break in between, but I'll tell you a little more about the overview once we just set the tone. So I'm going to play a song and then I'm going to ask Rev Craig, you're still here? Yes, you're still with us. I'm going to ask you to open in prayer for us once we finish with this song. So thanks so much for sharing. And this is the song I want to play with you, for you. Let me just go back here and start from the beginning. I perhaps won't do all of it, just halfway, because I want to manage your time well. But let me share.
Shepherd, I shall not want. In green pastures he makes me lie down. He restores my soul and leads me on for his name, for his grace. Surely goodness, surely mercy, right beside me all my days, and I will dwell in your house forever and bless your holy name. You prepare a table right before me in the presence of mine enemies. Though the arrow flies and the terror of night is at my door, I'll trust you.
Okay, sorry I have to cut it, but I just gonna ask Reverend Craig to pray right now.
Good morning, friends. Good morning to all the attendees. Let us together go to God in prayer. Let us pray. Gracious God and Abba Father, we pause even in this season to recognize who you are. We recognize that all authority is yours. All power belongs to you. Lord, we pause and we recognize the beauty of your creation. The fact that, Lord, you have created each of us and you have given us a mind to think, you have given us strength. Lord, you have even given us innovation. And God, even as we meet together on this platform, though we may be apart in distance, but Lord, through all of this, you have allowed us to be together, to share together. Lord, in this time of COVID-19, it has presented a particular challenge to your church, but even within that challenge is an opportunity to give witness to your people, to expand our boundaries, even as the prayer of Jabez. So God, as we enter into this time, Lord, we pray that you will inspire us, that Lord, you will speak to us, that Lord, you will download into our spirit, into our spirits by your Spirit. Lord, we thank you for all the attendees and all the participants. And Lord, we pray that your will be done in our time together. Lord, continue to be exalted. Continue to be placed above all else as we in all things look to you for your guidance and your wisdom. So God, bless us, we pray. For Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen, amen. You know, easily, every time I do these sessions, I realize I could easily break out into a Bible study prayer thing, but let's come back. All right, objective for today, here it is, right? We want to, at the end of it, explain how digital communication via the various channels can help our congregations to foster deeper communication and connection, because we have common interests, we have common goals. And of course, the main objective is still the Great Commission, right? So that is fundamentally our objectives. And we want to outline how the opportunities presented by all these various forms of new media can help the mission of the church to go forward. So at the end of it, if we haven't done this, then we would have failed. So I pray that we will succeed. All right, let's move on. All right, so some housekeeping matters. The icons on the chat. Oh, you're not seeing my screen, are you? No, you're not. Yes, you are now. Okay, so use the icons on the oops, where am I? Right, on the chat box on the bottom there, or wherever it is on yours, because it may be positioned differently. You can clap, you know, if something stands out to you. Just put some emojis. If you want to ask a question, use the Q&A button. You can leave your comments. There are some questions that we'll perhaps put at the parking lot for a while. And by that, I mean, perhaps we don't have enough time to get to them, or we can do it via a follow-up or something. So if it is that we're unable to pursue a particular question, we may have to put it at a parking lot because it may be covered in another maybe in another section of the presentation, or perhaps in another webinar that's coming up, right? Of course, the microphones will be muted because this is a webinar and not a meeting. So that one there doesn't necessarily apply. And we've done our icebreaker or reflection. You got a little bit about me and why am I here. We've gone through the objectives and the housekeeping matters. We want to start with a little group discussion, which I will take you into in a bit, and the new media technology, social media, looking at the purpose of social media, some stats, the social dilemma, what is it, and how we must navigate as we use social media. What are the trends? We're going to be doing some polling. We're going to be looking specifically at some familiar social media platforms, as well as some not so familiar ones, right? And then, very importantly, we're going to talk about how to decide on a platform and look at some teleconferencing options of course, zooming in on Zoom, pun intended, of course. All right, so I found this quote by Tiffany Fireball, and she's a writer and comedian. She's based in the US. And she says this, let me read it. I know you all can read too, but let me just, just so we don't have dead silence there. So there's an opportunity and an invitation for growth into a more dynamic, loving group of people who share one another's burdens financially and emotionally, who are willing to disrupt their own routines and make sacrifices to prioritize the health of someone else, and who will fight for one another in both the short and long term. When we shift into this perspective of community, not only are we mutually nourished by both giving and receiving support, but the tight grip on routine begins to loosen in favor of sacrifice for one another. Our priority shift in a pandemic. This priority shift is extremely important. And when I saw that and I knew I was doing this presentation, I thought to myself, how fitting, because all of that which has been said, essentially, it is the role of the church, simply put. And so I thought that was really fitting to share with us this morning. Let's move on. All right, so I want us to go into a group discussion, and I'm going to stop my share for a bit. Let me stop my share for a bit. I want us to go into a, hold on there. Oh, were you seeing, put a thing in the chat if you were seeing my screen. Oh, you weren't seeing the screen. Why did I think you were seeing it? All right, I hadn't shared. Okay. I need to also pay attention to the chat as well. What I want to do now, I want us to go into our chat. As soon as I'm sharing my screen again, and I want to do that. Or perhaps Craig, can you create it for us? So it gives me the opportunity to focus on the presentation. What I want us to do is go into 2 groups, right? We want to go into a breakout room. Let me see, Craig. And the thing I'm going to ask us to do is, let me share the screen so you can see that now. So I want group 1 to kind of spend 5 minutes, and both groups will spend 5 minutes. I know it's not a lot that you can do in 5 minutes, but the essence of it will be done. Group 1, how, if at all, has your view about social media changed since the onset of COVID-19? And group 2, based on your own congregational experience, how differently has the church leveraged social media since COVID-19? Let me know. Craig? Let me see the chat. And we can do that now. So we can do the breakout session. If you're not hearing me, you're all hearing me and seeing the screen and everything, right? Elaine, you're not seeing? Okay, all right. All right, so here's what I want you to do, because I don't know if you're not seeing it. It's okay. We don't have to spend a lot of time there. What I want to ask you to do then is using the chat box so that we can have a more fulsome sense of how you have been feeling. So some persons may answer question group 1, or the questions from group 1, or others may answer from group 2. And let me show them to you again. Hope this is not in your way. How, if at all, has your view about social media changed since the onset of COVID-19? And then based on your own congregation experience, how differently has the church leveraged social media since COVID-19? You can just type it in the chat. Okay. All right. Joyce has her hand up to ask a question. Go right ahead, Joyce. Because I know Karen is helping me to do the back end stuff around there. All meetings are done via Zoom. Before COVID, in person, yes. And you know, interestingly, I've always been an advocate. I call me, I was, oh, well, that was a mistake. That's okay. All right, so before Zoom was a thing, I mean, it has been a thing for a while, but before it became a thing in COVID, for me, I've been an advocate of let's meet online. We don't have to always meet in person. Like some things that could simply be a telephone call, a Skype call, or a Zoom meeting or something. We turn it into this big thing. You're fighting traffic to go to a meeting. And by the time you get to the meeting, you're tired and stressed out. When you're in the meeting, you're spending time chatting around before you get to the actual meeting and so on and so forth. So I've been big on that. And I'm glad to see that. Yes, I do agree that we need in-person to foster that camaraderie and everything at times, but the in-person meetings, not all of them are absolutely necessary. We can do Zoom, we can do Skype, and COVID has proven that to us. Anybody else share? Thank you for sharing, Joyce. Anybody else wants to share? That would be nice. Okay, your views, Elaine says her views have not changed, only heightened. Our church has been using FB to air services. This thing is moving so fast. Women have Bible study via WhatsApp. Nice, 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 nice. Now do online Bible study. Reverend Ray, yes. We're forced to use social media to reach our church family, and in some cases, the members were better than the numbers were better than face-to-face. Yeah, it takes away time from your family. That's not what it takes away time from your family. That's not what the church is promoting. Are you talking about social media, that it takes away time from your family? Eileen, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I just want to say my view of this new era we're in is that God in his wisdom has provided the technology for us, though separate, physically distant apart. We are able to, social keep in touch through the medium, and I thank God for that.
Yeah. Yes, yes. True, true. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Miss Joyce. No, that's Eileen. Yes, thank you. All right, Joyce says if meetings are in person, it takes us away from our family. True. So, God in his wisdom, again, I mean, all things work together for good. All things, not just some things. And this is a very, very great example of all things working together, even when it's something negative, right? So, all right. So yeah, we can move on from here now. I'm glad that you were able to partake and share your insight. I appreciate it, because if I'm the only one engaging, well, it's not really engaging, just me talking. So the fact that you're engaging with us, it's great, and I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so let's move on. New media technology. And some of this, if you were in the first session that I did with the young adults, then we would have covered some of this material, but we're going to go a little more in depth in some areas. So new media technology is, of course, multimedia and digital form of communication that happens via your desktop, your laptop, your phones, your tablets, and your electronic devices. I mean, new media technology is just so amazing. When you think about things like, voice first, and that's something that it's a whole new level of thing that we could talk about, and I didn't even include it here, and I don't want us to get too technical, so I'm not going to go there. But voice first, for example, is where you see Amazon with Alexa, you know, and there are others. There's Apple has Siri, and so on and so forth. And so those voice first technology devices that you can actually speak into these things and they perform a command. You know, you can write a skill. There are just so many things that you can do, and I'm not going to take us there because I want us to remain focused on the basics, right? So things like your blogs that you do, your virtual reality, your augmented reality. I have blogs full time. I don't know why. Podcasts, which, as you see, I'm so into podcasts. I'm always promoting podcasts, digital games, and I have to shout out. Let me pause here to shout out to my newest clients for podcasting, Karen herself. Yes, man, Karen Francis. Yes, had a great session yesterday, talking about podcasts and what it is, and so on and so forth. So all these things are part of new media technology, right? So it's unlimited. Where as opposed new media technology as opposed to traditional media, which is your print media, your TV, your radio. Those are traditional forms of media, and they're not going away, right? So the new media is actually complementing what already exists, because if it's not broken, you don't fix it. So they really still have their purpose, but they are now complemented by a wide array of other forms of technology, which are going beyond leaps and boundaries and borders that the traditional media couldn't, right? So we give thanks for that. Now, social media is a form of new media technology, right? So when we think about our Facebook and or Instagram or Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, etc., those are social media platforms, and how we interact, the whole thing of the interaction and all of that is a social media. But the platforms, the websites are these. So you have twitter.com, linkedin.com. They all have their .coms, which, you know, of course, is the website. So the collective term for websites and applications which focus on communication, community-based input, content sharing, collaboration, and there are different types of social media that some are dedicated to microblogging, such as Twitter. Then you have social networking, such as Facebook. Social bookmarking could be something like Pinterest that you're looking on. And Pinterest is not really a social media platform per se. It is more a search engine. It's a very niche search engine. Search engines such as, when you think search engine, you're thinking like Google and Yahoo and some others, Bing, some others, right? Those are the prominent ones. But Pinterest, although it's seen as social media, it's more a social bookmarking tool, and it's a search engine, yes, and social curation where you can put things together, share your thoughts, such as Medium, for example. I don't know how many people are using Medium. If you don't want to start your own blog, you can use medium.com. It's a great place to get stories of interest. There are a varied amount of interest stories there. For example, there are religious stories, there are church, spirituality, everything. So you just have to select the ones that would make sense to you and the church setting. And you can create your own blog. You can do your own posts. You get people to follow you. Like you said, it's almost like a social media. And it's part of that. So it's social curation where people are putting together their thoughts, and you can go back and read it and so on and so forth. Right? So in a nutshell, if you have any questions, of course, Karen is still monitoring for me, so I'm not even looking at that. So if you're seeing any questions pop up, you can let me know. All right, so social media, that's in a nutshell what it is. Now, what do we use social media for? Many things. We use it for personal people business. That's one of the things people go there for. Every minute they scroll on somebody's timeline and they're looking. Sometimes they not even have interest in the person, but they have interest in what they're doing. I don't know why, but they do. And they're fascinating people's business. You engage with your friends. For example, if you're on Facebook, you can share where you've been, and so on and so forth. You capture the moment, you engage with each other. Oh, I was just with Karen last night and we had a great time and we were eating and lots of food and stuff like that. And you share that, you engage. You tell stories, you build relationship, like, sometimes, and connection as well. It's kind of the same offshoot. So if you attended Centenary High School, for example, like I did, and you haven't heard from your batchmate in however many years, you can start search for them on Facebook, because that's where many people will go, and they'll find people, and they'll connect with them, and they'll establish connections that they had before, or even new connections, right? The world has no borders right now because of social media. And importantly, last but not least, for the church, is that of evangelizing, spreading the message of Jesus. And I might add here, we don't have to necessarily say Jesus as we are spreading the message of Jesus. Not that we're ashamed of Jesus, because we're not ashamed of Christ and his gospel. But what I'm saying here is the way we live our lives on social media. That alone, what message are we spreading on social media? What is it that we're saying to other people without saying that we're Christians? Our lifestyle on social media should inform others that something is different about us. So it's not just the everyday posting like others do, the gossiping and the spreading fake news, because there's a lot of fake news going on right now. And I'm going to be sharing something about that in terms of the social dilemma, right? So these are just some of the ways that we engage on social media. So I don't know if you want to share with me which of all these that we've mentioned here, which most resonate with you in terms of how you have been personally using social media. We can share our thoughts at this time. What are you hearing, Karen?
I am not seeing any responses as yet.
You're not seeing any. I'm gonna keep you. I'm gonna keep you unmuted, because you're my administrative assistant this morning. All right. So okay, no problem. We move on. If you have any questions, please ask. I don't want to be talking to myself. All right.
Well, Heniko, there are a couple
I am
persons in the
seeing
chat.
a few coming in now in the chat. Shall I go ahead and read them?
Yes.
Okay, so I see from one, we as a church have been posting scriptures and questions daily. There's another one posting devotionals and Bible verses. There is someone who is saying that she really keeps away from social media. A question: how can you discern fake messages? Where can you check?
For fake
I
news.
think I have caught them all.
Okay, Google. Just Google, is this fake news? And you will see, and whatever this is, just put in the topic and so on, and you will get some insights, and you'll be able to sift through what is real from what is not real. And there are a lot of fake websites that will, for example, look like CNN. And when you look closely, and you recognize that the domain is not CNN, it's CN something, right? And it mimics. It's just like phishing, 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 right? It's just like that, where people try and clone your website to look like you, or they'll clone NCB's website to give you the impression that it is NCB that is sending out, sending you to that link when it's not NCB, for example. So those are just some of the ways, but be very eye open, like a lot of things. And one of my pet peeves is when I see so many members of the church sharing something about, oh, they're burning churches in India and they're that. And when you check it, when I just decided to put it in Google and to fact check it, if this is real, you'll see that has been around for 10 years now. It's a message that has been circulating for 10 years now. And so that's one of the ways that the enemy, should I just wait until I go to social dilemma? But anyway, that's one of the ways that the enemy used to distract us, allow us to get to react to some of these fake news. And because it says it's defending, or it's seemingly defending the church, we get so emotional and sentimental about it and spiritual about it, and we start to share it to everybody and in wife. And that is why, if you recognize that WhatsApp no longer gives you the ability to forward messages on block, right? You can forward a message up to 5 persons right now. I mean, you can keep doing 555, but at least it prevents it from getting out as quickly as when you could just forward to everybody in a contact listing at the same time, right? Or to our group or to something. So those are just some of the things that we need to look out for. So let's move on as we talk about the purpose of social media. We're moving into some digital stats.
Before
And
you move to stats,
Yes.
Henika, may I just ask you to clarify something which has been raised,
Right.
the terminology phishing
Yes.
and what that means.
Okay, so in terms of identity, that really relates to identity theft, right? Phishing is actually when the scammers craft a website or an email address, or mostly it's a website that will lurk you into going there thinking it's an authentic site. So it's just that's essentially what phishing is, right? So you will see, for example, a link to say, oh, you have been selected for, I don't know, a spot prize or something. Just click this link and it will pretend as though it's coming from, again, I'm using NCB, I don't know why, from NCB, right? Give you the impression that it's coming from NCB. Perhaps it has an email address that will look similar to NCB. When you click on it, it will take you to a website that will look like NCB's website, but it's not. And so what they've done, once you've clicked there, the scammers now are able to get your information, maybe your password and some logging data, depending on how they set it up in their backend to whatever data they want to fetch from you, right? They're able to get your keyboard imprint and to do whatever they want to do, and to capture your data so that they can actually steal your information to use it in future, right? So essentially that's what it is. And perhaps we need to look at cybercrime in detail in one session. All right, so let's look at digital stats. I don't know how we're gonna do this in 2 hours, God help us. Digital stats, right? So as it is now, and I tell you that this data came up to, so the survey was done up to the end of 2019. So with the onset of COVID, I can tell you that this has significantly shifted. So I'm looking forward, and it comes from the source I'm using here is Hootsuite. We are a digital report. They provide us with a report every single year. Immense data that can help you, that can inform your decision-making process. So this is it. More than 4.5 billion people across the world use the internet. And this was the January 2020 report, which of course would have been done in 2019. So up until that time in January, more than 4.5 billion people across the globe use the internet, and 3.8 billion on social media. So at that time, 60% of the world's population was already online. We know with COVID now, that number would have significantly increased, right? So the prediction was that by the end of the year or mid-year, that more than half of the world's population will use social media at that time. So fair and equal access remains a challenge, however, and we can see that in our school system. We can see that in our rural areas, and the challenge the Ministry of Education has for connectivity and online schooling and all of that. So it's not equally distributed, and so it's similar to the wealth in our nation. It's not equally distributed, and so there are some who are at a disadvantage as opposed to others, and we can see that shaping out. And perhaps even in the rural churches, well, of course, if it happens in the school, then clearly it's going to happen in the churches. So some of the deeply rural members are at a disadvantage where this is concerned. While some of us are moving, hastily ahead, others are lagging behind, right? It's just the unequal distribution of wealth and resources that we have to contend with. 300 million will come online by year end, and most will come from developing countries because the reality is most in the developed world are already online. That is what is implied there. And an average of 6 hours and 43 minutes are spent online every day. And so when we look at the entire humanity, we would have seen that a total combination of 1.2 billion years online would have been spent in 2020. Can you imagine 1.25 billion years? So with everybody online, that is what it works out to be. And 1/3 of this is spent on social media. So I hope it's not lost on us that there's no getting around it. If the church used to demonize social media, and I used to be one of I mean, without apologies, I used to be one of them that would say, look, we keep looking at the negatives about social media. But listen, God grants us wisdom for a reason, and He has enabled us to use technology. Instead of complaining about how it's demonizing and whatever, let's look at it for the benefit that it can offer, because it does offer benefits. But I will also caution, and let me see, this is where, yes, we're heading there in a bit, so I can kind of preempt. I'll also caution that it's important. There's someone who made a comment that they try to stay away, and believe me, if it weren't for business, I would stay completely away too after my experience with my health in April. April leading up to now, because I'm not 100% better, but God has done His thing, and I'm here, thank God. I didn't know I would be around to see October, truth be told. So, and part of my challenge at the time, and I still do now, is try to stay away from social media, is part of the thing was I became hypersensitive to anything electronics. So my phone, my computer, I would go on the computer for a while, and it's feel like for a second or two, I totally block out. I have to jerk myself back into reality. I would try to send a text message, and I would have to plan it because it was so much work. I could not watch TV because, again, with all the symptoms that I had, and I don't mean to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm just saying how social media can, and not just social media, electronics in general can affect your health. I remember I would watch TV, and because one of the things that was affecting me was that I was passing out so frequently. When I remember I was watching the TV when one of my most severe pass out episodes happened, and I thought, oh God, this is it. And so I was watching the TV, and all of a sudden I could hear nothing. The thing became a blur, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And so since that time, what had been happening to me is that I'm having episodes of association and, I guess, post-traumatic stress. So there was a point on this health journey when something like the TV would pause for a while. When there's a natural pause in a program, my brain would question whether or not I'm actually passing out or whether it was an actual pause. So there was a lot of psychological thing happening with the electronics, and there's a lot of anxiety because the stats will show you that a lot of anxiety and depression arise from social media, because that notification. And let me just move on to the social dilemma, because this is a nice segue. And the first one I want to talk about is the mental health dilemma. So while for me it is great, it is a great tool, I love it, and I thank God every day for it, and I think it's one of the best things to ever happen to humanity. There are also, I want to caution all of us to be very mindful of how much time we spend on it. Or mental health, it can affect our mental health. And I'd want us to see a film, if we can, on Netflix, if we do have that option. Because this slide is taken from that film exactly. There's a film called The Social Dilemma, and it's very informative about how it is, because in this film you have top players or former top players of Google, Facebook, all of these platforms that you can think of, the major giants, and you have former employees talking about the behind the scenes and how they actually design techniques like push notification so that you continuously scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And before you know it, you spend so much time on social media when you had planned to do something else. And you're now comparing it to yourself because you see something and you thought, oh my gosh, she looks better than me, or my life is not as good as hers, all kind of stuff like that. And you start to compare, and all of these things, believe me, they affect your mental health. And the studies show that in as much as you have an addiction to drug, cocaine, marijuana, whatever it is, alcohol, as much as there is an addiction in the form of drugs, it's the same way the chemical in your brain reacts. Dopamine. So when you go on social media and you're looking to see if anybody liked a picture or comment or whatever, that it triggers that release of dopamine. If you don't get the reaction that you want, the like, the comment, the share, then you almost enter into a depressive state because you don't get that dopamine. So I want to caution all of us, even as we're pushing social media, because you can get to the point. I used to take my computer with me every single place I go. I'm in the toilet. I can say toilet here. I'm in the toilet. I'm taking the computer with me. I'm taking the phone with me until my body had a nervous reaction to all of this. And I don't know if I'm being too graphic, but I think it is important to share with us, to caution us that we want to use it in moderation, right? So then there's a mental health dilemma. And of course, you can see from the slide, the study that was done, that there's a correlation in mental health and physical health and life satisfaction based on use of social media, right? So be informed, my friends. Then there's the democracy dilemma, right? There's a lot of, we talk about, how you can know if something is fake and all of these things and so on and so forth. We want us to think about the last US presidential election. And it's alleged, emphasis on alleged or not, it's alleged that Russia interfered with the US elections, right? And so how were they able to do that based on the alleged, the allegations? By simply feeding to people. There are different groups that are created on Facebook or whatever platform, different groups to form different agenda, even if that agenda is one of propaganda, right? And so when they feed you the messages, because remember, these social media platforms are not there because they want to be nice to us. They're there because they want to make money. How do they make money? They make money by working on our psychology, by working on our minds, right? Psychologically, they work on our minds to present the things to us that they think we want to hear and they think we want to see. And in presenting those things to us, then we buy into it, right? And then at the end of the day is who can outspend who. So whilst you are there and you're not there for business, you're there for the church to present your message, right? You have groups that are targeting the church. And so as a church going person who is posting about the love of God, you're finding things coming up in your feed that have nothing to do, or perhaps initially because they want to pull you in, they sell you half truths, right? They sell you half truths and you say, oh, this is true and whatever. You don't see the other part, which is a lie. So I want us, again, to be very mindful when we're on social media. And so fact check everything. Don't just because somebody share and all these conspiracy theory right now that are going around about COVID-19 and the cure and the vaccine, all of these, I say, you know what? And when we talk about the mark of the beast and everything, I say, I am, honestly, I declare that spiritually, I'm not at a level where I can say with it spiritually, that I can say with any certainty that this is what God is saying as it relates to a vaccine, as it relates to certain things. So all I can do for now, until God elevate me to that place spiritually, all I can do is use my intellect. And my intellect will tell me to dissect certain things, and when it just don't make no sense. But until then, I will seek counsel, and I will seek counsel from God and from others. But until then, it's false news, it's fake news. That's my position. So that's in terms of democracy. In terms of discrimination, 64% of the people who joined extremist groups on Facebook did so because the algorithms steer them there. There is, how do Facebook know who to show what to? There are things behind the scenes that work that are called algorithms, right? This is how they know when to send you when somebody create things like tags. So you tag somebody that you've been at lunch with, and somebody, it will tell you that, that Craig also liked this post, and it keeps a ripple effect because the algorithm behind the scenes are doing these things to steer you in a direction, distracting us. That is why they will send you notifications by phone, by your email. So you will see in your email, unless you turn off your notifications, which I have turned off all notifications for all apps, everything. We don't want to hear, I'll go there at my own convenience, right? So you can turn off notification because they can drive you crazy, right? Gives you even a nervous reaction. You feel the phone go off and you jump, and like, that's how anxiety begins, right? So algorithms promote content that sparks outrage, hate, and amplifies biases within the data that we feed them. So garbage in, garbage out. What you begin to look at, Facebook, even you realize Google will send you, your YouTube thing will send you videos. You're watching something and all of a sudden you're seeing this video because of where you have been. That's the algorithm at work, right? So they're not doing it for the love, or to the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it because money. Any questions? Let me pause and drink some water too. And maybe I need to give us a break here. Oh my gosh, I have been taking us through without a break. So if we don't have any questions, let me say we can break for 5 minutes. I'm very tight with my time today. I'm sorry, guys. Any questions, Karen? I'm not.
No questions. I'm not seeing any.
Oh, I still have
I'm
all.
seeing some comments, just a few. I
Thank you.
can just commendation, excellent presentation. No questions otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. So, okay, great. So let's know. All right. So what we're gonna do, I want to wrap this session right here. Wrap this before we go to a break by saying the objective of sharing this element of social media with us was for us to go in eyes wide open, right? I want us to understand that social media is great. I've been a proponent of it for a long time. I've been using it long before everybody started coming on stream, like even from 2017. That's when I went all in, went all digital, and it has been tremendous. My experience has been tremendous. But I want us to understand that there are some things that we need to look out for whilst we are using it for the benefit of the church, to grow the church, and for the benefit of everybody and God's kingdom. Understood? All right, so we take a 5-minute break. We come back. I join us back at 3 minutes past 11.
Just before our break, Henika,
Yes.
there is a question about the issue of balance. How do I engage on social media but not be totally absorbed by it? I think you have responded to that in the past couple of minutes, and we'll address it more as we go into the next section.
Right. Because I'm going to talk about, let me tell you what's coming up so you are mentally prepared. So we're going to talk about social media trends, and so on and so forth, and how we can, then we're going to do a little question right there. So this is what we're going to talk about when we come back. So let me leave it on that slide. So, okay, I've talked about the time, 4 minutes past 11. We'll be right back.
Please take a break, everyone. Stand, move, take a comfort break, get some water, move around a bit, and in 5 minutes we resume. Okay, folks, I think we are regrouping. Hope you have done the stretch. I hope no one has yielded to the temptation to remain seated. At least stand and stretch. That is healthy. Just before I hand back to Henika, just want to say to everyone that I hope you saw the message that we're streaming live on YouTube. So we are recording, and we also want to take a picture, a print screen of gallery view. It is part of our promotion for this event. So Henika, we had the question I had mentioned before, and there's another that has been raised. How does social dilemma affect our spirituality? And I suspect that this is the kind of question that could have us in a discussion for a good half an hour. So what I would propose is that we do answer that, that we answer that online so that the response can be seen. And we have a raised hand from Carlene.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Carlene. Oh.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. You hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, my hand accidentally went up, but since I'm on, I just want to say so far that it is great. Meadowbrook United, we just finished a course, an evangelism course, and actually related with social
Yes,
media.
we
So
hear you.
right. So when I saw this coming up, I'm saying, excellent. We're on the right track. And
Okay.
it's good going so far. Yes. It's very
Okay,
interesting.
great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So we're going to move into social media trends and the role of the church. Now, when we talk about there's public and private engagement, right? Churches can reach more prospects in the open. So when you use let's use Facebook again, the timeline on Facebook, that's in the open, right? There are closed channels that will help you. So first, you create that profile, whether it's your page, I know you have to have a personal profile, then you can create a page from that or a group. So your group is where once they've formed that connection with you initially, you're finding now that the groups will actually help you to build stronger relationships, deeper relationships, because it's really like-minded people that will come into the group and you can have conversations. They'll ask their questions, or you promote, you post positive stuff there frequently, so on and so forth. So build deeper relationships as you go along by creating groups, for example. And that's a trend. Whereas the timeline, your personal profile, will be more for that, initial engagement and connection. And another trend is we're seeing that trust and advocacy can be earned. You can take a stand on social media. For example, we know where the church stands on certain issues as it relates to abortion, human trafficking, and so many other things. So the church's role on social media is also not just social, not just spiritual, but also one of advocacy and advocating, for those that are vulnerable in our society. What is a great trend to look at? I mean, there are several other trends, but I just highlight these three. And one I want to talk about is TikTok, which perhaps, unless you were in our last session in March, you perhaps wouldn't hear about it until now. I know a very good friend of mine on here, she was just hearing about it recently, right? And thinking, Snapchat, when you compare TikTok to Snapchat, for example, the stats show you that monthly active users for Snapchat is 350 million, right? Monthly active. Whereas monthly active for TikTok in the first quarter of 2019 was 800 million. So you can see, the vast difference on how TikTok is actually overtaking and becoming that platform. Now, TikTok is really one of the latest social media platforms where just 15 second videos are posted, and you can create videos from images and use people's voices, and it's just funny and crazy, and kind of a virtual reality, as it is. It's not real, because it's not really you in some of those videos, because your voice is altered and other things are altered. But it's very funny, and people are warming up to them. Like, people can spend 46 minutes a day watching these 15-second videos. So these 15-second videos, if people are watching 46, watching them 46 minutes, you know that they're watching a lot of these videos. And so there's an opportunity for the church and so on. And I've been seeing how some churches have been using it, and I thought, wow, very clever. So we'll move into that. But before we go into various social media platforms, which is where I know we're anxious to get into, I want to get a sense from us. Where am I? No, where's my slide? I want to get a sense from us which social media platform we know the least about, and the ones we know the least about, perhaps. Let me see, and I'll decide which one we spend a little more time on. So, of these that you're seeing on the screen, which of them you know the least amount? I know TikTok perhaps fear high up there, but outside of TikTok. And you can put that in the chat. LinkedIn, least amount LinkedIn.
True so far.
Or perhaps I
so
just
far.
scream. perhaps I should have framed the question another way. Of these that you're seeing on the screen, which one would you like to learn about? Which one are you most interested in as it relates to your church context? Because we want to keep it within the context of why we're here. So of all of these, which one do you want us to spend more time on? Okay, so LinkedIn and TikTok. And tell me what it is, because I've been asking you 2 questions. I'm confusing you. I'm sorry. So I ask you 2 questions. Good morning, Madam Rosie. I've been asking you, so put beside it whether you want lease or whether you want us to spend time on. So I get a sense of, you know, where we should go, because we don't have a lot of time.
So since your question, Henika, I've seen Twitter, I've seen LinkedIn, and I've seen TikTok. But then there's also YouTube and Instagram.
Okay. All right. Instagram. All right. So I have resources. I have some videos, but we don't have time to show all of these videos. I have resources for all of these, and I am like torn now because I don't know which one to go, honestly. I am so torn. All right, to educate persons. All right, you know what? Let me just go do a little overview quickly on these, and then we spend some time on perhaps, yeah, okay. I'll work it. I'll see where we're going. No problem. All right, so this video that I had here, but I won't play it because I've actually summarized it, is how smaller churches can dominate social media. And there are 2 guys that does a nice program. Most of the videos that I have here are from him. I don't remember his name, but essentially, this is the advice he gives to churches. How can churches dominate social media, in particular, smaller churches? No, number 1, stop the scroll. And what did he mean by that? Simply by posting information, sharing information that is so interesting that it caused people to stop and say, wait a minute, right? And spend more time on it. So what can some of the interesting things be that would cause the scroll? Instead of just posting the link to your sermon, you can create a call out, as it were, and a call out, I mean just a quote. So for example, you can create canva.com. Let me introduce everybody to that. It's your quickest way to create graphics. Canva.com. You can create a graphic piece, an artwork that would take a line from that sermon. So for example, Reverend Craig is preaching and he's talking about loving your neighbor as yourself. And he said something interesting that is not what perhaps typically you'll hear in a sermon. You can create a quote from that, and that will cause you to, stop a minute. Or perhaps use something called audiogram, right? An audiogram is simply a snippet of your audio with an image overlay onto that, and it makes it into the form of a video, right? You can use tools like headliner.app, HEADLINER.app, to create audiograms. The free version will give you up to 10 minutes snippet, and you put a nice cover on that, just as though you have your Instagram cover or your Instagram picture, whatever. Create a nice cover, and you create an audiogram from a video, which is a video really of the audio, and you have that. So that, it will give you a snippet of it. You post the link, and people click on the link because they want to hear more, because the snippet was so interesting that they want to go on further, right? Start meaningful conversation. Don't just, hey, listen to this sermon. No. Ask some questions. Questions are big on getting people to react. How are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest? Do you think that you are loving your neighbor the way you should? Right? Start a conversation. Don't just put something there and run and leave it. Start a conversation. because that is what the social media platform is intended for: conversation, and interaction, that kind of a thing, and promote some form of a spiritual practice. So whether it is at the end of it, you can say, okay, based on this sermon, what we'd want you to do is to do something tangible. Perhaps make 5 calls to someone you haven't seen in, or to 5 persons you haven't seen in 2 weeks or a month or 3 years or whatever the case may be, right? So you're provoking some spiritual practice, because at the end of it, you're doing this with the intention to lead people closer, in a closer walk with God, right? So at the end of it, make that call to action. So you're creating something interesting, you're starting meaningful conversation, and you are creating or provoking some form of a spiritual practice. That is what we are, intended them to engage with us in the first place for. It's not just to boost our ego. It's not just to have a presence on social media, but there's an end in mind. And if we keep the end in mind at all times, then we are good to go, right? So I have the video here, but I'm not going to play. Oh, yeah, this is it. I'm not going to play the video because, like I said, I just summarized it essentially. And he's such a nice guy. He has this thing called Pro Church Tools, as you can see in the footer, in the logo. And he has some nice, he does some nice videos on social media for the church. All right, Instagram stories. We wanted to hear about Instagram, and I'm going to share with us story templates for church, because it's not just about your timeline. Instagram is so much more. So Instagram is owned by Facebook, for those of us who don't know. So too is WhatsApp, right? Instagram is owned by Facebook, and it's where you have that grid that you put your nice pictures on and so on. But you can do more than pictures. You can do a lot in your story, because I find that I get a lot more engagement personally when I use stories than when I even post on my timeline for Instagram. So I'm going to share this this video with us. Siri, I don't want to talk to you. Sorry. Instagram story. So let's play this video. I hope I'm sharing my audio. Tell me if you can.
Your church that checks all the boxes of what good social media content should do. It drives meaningful engagement? Check. It provokes spiritual practice? Check. It's easy and requires zero design skills or fancy software? Check. And I'm gonna give you a bunch of pre-written templates at the end of this video that you can copy and paste? Check. Well, hey there everyone, my name's Brady Shearer. This is Pro Church Tools, a channel dedicated to helping your church navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. Consider subscribing. You can hit the little church bell to turn on notifications, and if we're just meeting for the first time, thanks for being here. Instagram Stories is one of my favorite social platforms. One reason for this is the Stories platform is an entire content creating machine in the palm of your hand. Boomerang, layout, ooh, which Disney character am I? Ariel. Oh, a little scandalous, but
right here.
We'll take it.
Sometimes, as we're church people, we can be so serious, but people are on social media. Bear in mind the reason people are on social media. Sometimes they're bored. Sometimes they're just passing time. Life is serious. They don't want something serious all the time. So we have to be mindful of that, so that we can be fun and creative without losing the essence of who we are in Christ, right? So bear that in mind as we engage on social media. Sometimes we got to be outside of ourselves, other than who we are, just so that we can bring people in. Be all things to all people, so that some may be saved, right? So bear that in mind as we think about navigating.
Try one more time. Which Disney character? See if it gives me Ariel again. Come on. The genie? Look,
Henny,
Robert Williams, legend.
The video is
Respect.
not being
I'll take
seen.
You're not seeing the video?
No.
Robin Williams. I always.
Oh, because I'm sharing that other screen. I'm so sorry about that. Let me go back and share the video. There we go. I was sharing.
In this video, I'm going to teach you a repeatable Instagram story strategy for your church that checks all the boxes of what good social media content should do. It drives meaningful engagement? Check. It provokes spiritual practice? Check. It's easy and requires zero design skills or fancy software? Check. And I'm going to give you a bunch of pre-written templates at the end of this video that you can copy and paste? Check. Well, hey there everyone, my name's Brady Shearer. This is Pro Church Tools, a channel dedicated to helping your church navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. Consider subscribing. You can hit the little church bell to turn on notifications, and if we're just meeting for the first time, thanks for being here. Instagram Stories is one of my favorite social platforms. One reason for this is the Stories platform is an entire content creating machine in the palm of your hand. Boomerang, layout, ooh, which Disney character am I? Ariel! Oh. A little scandalous, but we'll take it. All right, try one more time. Which Disney character? See if it gives me Ariel again. Come on. The genie? Look, Robert Williams, legend, respect. I'll take it. Robin Williams. I always say Robert Williams. Do not put that in the video. Say Robert Williams. Cancel me right now. There's so much this platform can do, and yet, what do most of our churches do with stories? We promote upcoming events and services, and on the weekend, we might post some photos or videos of what's happening on Sunday. Not saying that you should never do those things, but there's so much more that's possible with stories. And the paradigm shift you need to make in your mind with social is this. Social is a place to do ministry, not a place to just promote ministry. And the balance that you want to strike is what I call the 1 in 5 rule. Out of every 5 posts you publish on social, 1 can be promotional in nature, but no more than 20% of your posts overall, over the course of a week or a month, should be promoting upcoming services or events. So what should your church be posting the rest of the time? Well, let me teach you one great idea right now. Starting from the Create section in the Instagram Story editing panel, choose the quiz feature and create a quiz question. And now, fill that question in with a little Bible trivia. Let's start with a simple one. What was the first miracle Jesus performed? We'll put the correct answer first, changing water into wine. The second answer will be healing leprosy. The third answer, calming a storm. Simple, right? Now let's do that 2 more times to create a mini 3-part quiz. And let's make the next question just a little harder. Which book of the Bible contains the shortest chapter? Proverbs, 3 John, Obadiah, or Psalms? What do you guys think?
3 John.
Everyone in this room says 3 John, which just goes to show you. It doesn't matter if you're a pastor or Bible college educated. Doesn't matter. These quiz questions will get you. With just 2 verses and 16 words in Hebrew, Psalm 117 is the shortest chapter in the Bible. Interestingly, it's also the middle chapter of the Bible and followed closely by the longest chapter in the Bible, Psalm 119. One more. What is the shortest book in the Bible by word count? They already guessed it. 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, or Jude? And the answer is what?
Jude.
No! Apparently it's close, but 3 John with 219 words narrowly edges out 2 John with 245 words for the shortest book in the Bible by word count in its original language. So maybe it depends on the translation. Okay, now we can publish our 3-part quiz to Instagram Stories and we're done. And right now what we have here, it's solid. It's promoting biblical literacy. It's gonna drive engagement because quizzes are pretty irresistible. They're fun, interactive, but I think we can take this to even greater heights. So let's talk about a number of variations that you can make to this quiz strategy. The first has to do with the backgrounds that you use. Instagram's gonna let you choose from one of their pre-made colored backgrounds, but you can also upload a photo or video from your phone's camera roll for the background. And if you're a Nucleus user here, this is where our library of stock footage is a great resource because you can find cinematic footage to thematically pair with each question that's in your quiz. So for the first question, because it's about miracles, that makes me think of new life, feelings of spring. So I'll head to media.nucleus.church, use the search engine to type in spring, find a clip that I like. And what's cool is that I can download this directly to my phone. I'm gonna save it in a folder called IG Stories Backgrounds because let's be frank, I don't know about you, my camera roll, it's very massive and I want to keep it organized. And then once I'm in IG stories, I can upload that video as the background for my quiz question. Now for the second question in our quiz, it's Bible related. So I'll go back to media.nucleus.church. I'll search Bible, find another clip I like, and repeat the process for each question in the quiz. And this is a great way to elevate the storytelling and immersive feeling of your stories on Instagram by using stock footage backgrounds, and you can do it all from your phone, which is great. Another thing to consider is because all of our Nucleus stock footage is grouped into scenes, you could download 3 pairing clips from the same scene for each of your 3 questions in the quiz, and then your quiz would have a similar look and feel throughout. And you could change that up every week by picking a different scene, and you can always explore the full Nucleus library of stock footage at media.nucleus.church and start your free 30-day trial, no credit card required, and you'll get access to 30 4K stock footage clips for free. Okay, another variation off of this strategy is to serialize it. Turn it into a recurring series where every Tuesday, let's say, you host a Bible quiz. And to make it even more compelling for your online audience, give away a $5 gift card to a local specialty coffee shop to each week's winner. If you don't want to spend money, you could also just reach out to the local coffee shop, ask them to sponsor the series. You could pin their logo to the bottom of each quiz story slide, and the winner could earn a voucher for a free cup of coffee that week as an alternative to the gift card. There's just so much room for creativity here, and by turning this into a recurring series on the same day, each and every week, you'll build momentum and expectation. Your followers will know what's coming, and that's going to make them more likely to tune in and participate. And for you, it's also one less day for you to come up with something to post on stories because you'll already have it set aside for this. Finally, we've been using Bible trivia to populate our quiz questions so far, and to make this even easier, there's a link in the description below to a Google Doc that has a series of pre-written quiz questions that you can copy and paste to create your first month's worth of quizzes on Instagram stories. We want to make this as easy as possible for you, so please click that link. It's just a Google Doc. Take advantage of those pre-written questions and start using them right away. That does it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe.
Okay. All right, so how did we find that one? Let me see. Any questions arising from that? Okay, let me see. Okay, great.
There is a raised hand. I'm trying to see who that is. Oh, Stephanie. Stephanie has a question.
Yeah, go ahead. We can take a question.
Unmute Stephanie and go ahead. Stephanie, do you still want to ask your question? Okay, maybe not.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. So we have seen how, I mean, we're used to a lot of using the Instagram timeline, right? And in terms of, let me just quickly say in terms of demographics. So we looked at all of these. Let me just go back to that quickly. Facebook is us more mature people that are on Facebook nowadays. The younger people are leaving to go to Instagram and most assuredly TikTok. But like the 14 to 25 years old are on TikTok and what's the other one? Snapchat. Of course, Instagram get up to maybe about 35 thereabouts. But the more mature people are on Facebook. Not to say that you don't have more mature people on Instagram and all these platforms. Know that you have, you know, people that are chronologically mature. We're also on all these other platforms as well. I mean, I have a TikTok account. I'm not using it much, but I have one. Twitter and Facebook kind of, well, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, they kind of have people across all gamut. So too is Facebook, although predominantly more chronologically mature people are on Facebook, right? So in terms of you want to reach a younger population, we're talking about TikTok, we're talking about Snapchat and Instagram as well. YouTube. But you do find a wide demographic across all platforms, right? But when you want to reach out the younger, think particularly Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. WhatsApp, everybody has WhatsApp as well. I told you that WhatsApp and Instagram are both owned by Facebook. So we've done a little of Instagram. We are not going to be doing, we're not going to be doing Facebook. Facebook is more popular. You all perhaps know about Facebook or have a Facebook account. So I will forego that in the interest of time. We looked at Instagram and Instagram stories. So those are just some ideas, tangible ideas that you can walk away with to create engaging, content. And we have another webinar coming up looking at content and so on. So we won't spend any more time there. But these are just some examples for you as it relates to stories in Instagram. WhatsApp, we've been using WhatsApp a lot. Sharing messages, doing broadcasts, forming groups, and so on, right? Perhaps you've been using it doing Bible study on WhatsApp. So that's one of the most popular in Jamaica in terms of usage. So in order for me to save time, I won't touch on it except to say that it's a very excellent tool. You can also, let me just point out that you can create a business profile for your church. And a business profile gives you the opportunity to have customized messages. So for example, if you send me a WhatsApp, you perhaps see within a certain time, I have my opening hours. So if you send me a message outside of those times, then you're going to get a message that says, thank you for contacting Heneka Watkins Porter. We're not available right now. However, in the meantime, you may go XYZ, right? So you can create business pages for your WhatsApp using that same number, right? So ministers can consider that as well. So I can move on from here. Let me see, I have YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. I want to do TikTok since a lot of people are not familiar with TikTok, and reaching the young people is a great platform. Also, I want to do it because it will answer the question of, is it safe for the church? And in terms of our spirituality. No, that question needs to be answered, and the answer is found in the algorithm, right? What you feed it is what it's going to feed back to you, right? So let's take a look at this video.
There's a new social platform emerging right now called TikTok. And the big question that many churches are asking themselves right now is this platform safe? So let's talk about it. Well, firstly, TikTok is unique because what you mainly see on the platform is determined by the algorithm, not your circle of friends. And this is very different from what we've come to expect with other social platforms. Here's what it means though. TikTok is like a puppy that needs training. You just have to tell it what to do and the algorithm will listen. So when I first started using TikTok, my feed was mostly Toronto slang memes and rural Canadian boys out for a rip in their souped up trucks. Why? Well, when I first started using the platform, all TikTok knew about me was my location, and that small piece of info was what they used to determine the kinds of content I saw. But what's amazing about TikTok is that the algorithm is an incredibly fast learner. Just watch videos for 10 minutes on TikTok, like the ones you want to see more of, swipe past the ones you don't care for, and you'll notice a dramatic change to your feed almost instantly. So that leads us back to the question at hand. Is TikTok safe for your church? Well, if you've heard someone say that TikTok is just full of teenagers being inappropriate, that can really only mean one thing. That person has not yet trained the TikTok algorithm to show them the right types of content. Inversely, in fact, the more you watch the videos that you think are inappropriate on TikTok, the more that TikTok will think you want to see more of those videos. Again, because TikTok relies on its algorithm to keep you on its platform rather than your circle of friends, it's that much more imperative for TikTok to ensure that it's only showing you the videos you want to see, because otherwise you'll just leave. So it's not going to shove inappropriate content in your face. It just won't, as long as you tell it not to. So really, saying TikTok is dangerous because some people are making inappropriate videos is like saying the internet is dangerous because some people are making inappropriate videos. Now you might say, well, yeah, Brady, we can't exactly escape the internet. It's a core part of our culture now. We're stuck with it. And my response to that is, well, yeah, exactly. Because you don't have to like TikTok. But if you're a church that cares at all about reaching those 25 years and younger, you're going to have to contend with this platform because it's now a core part of young person culture. And so your church can approach it in two ways. Number one, you can preach abstinence. Tell your students to not use TikTok, hold them to a higher standard, so to speak, but realize that in doing so, you are implicitly communicating to them that you don't believe they can be trusted. This platform is too dangerous for you. It's better to just avoid it. I would recommend the second approach because I do believe that you should hold your young people to a higher standard. But in this case, the higher standard is not avoidance. It's actually teaching your young people how to use something for good rather than destruction. So teach them about the algorithm and how it's a mirror of what they're watching. Empower them to create content for TikTok that shares the love of Christ to all the other people around the world using this platform. Here's our friend Alex Wilson. Right now, he has 250,000 followers on TikTok, and he's sharing the gospel with millions of people every single week. And I'm so glad he wasn't told to stay off TikTok because some teenagers were being inappropriate. We need more people like him. And guess what? It's not going to be you, the pastor or church leader, probably. It's going to be one of the young people in your church that's going to do it. So if we truly aim to be lights in dark places, if that's what you are preaching, then it can not only refer to faraway nations. TikTok is a growing platform. It has the attention of the world right now. And if we turn our back on it, we're also turning our back on the chance of sharing hope with people around the world who need it, while at the same time teaching our own young people that it's better for them to avoid something altogether than learn to use it properly.
Wow.
There's a new social platform emerging right now called TikTok. And the big question that many churches are asking themselves right now is...
Yes. Any questions on what you just saw a while ago regarding TikTok? Any comment, any question? Okay, all right. When I don't get questions,
I'm not seeing any.
I just figure that there's some clarity. And did that resonate with you in any way? Did it strike your interest? Did it strike your interest at all?
I've seen a big love it from Dwight Kelly.
Yeah, man. I know he would love that. Absolutely. That's Reverend Kelly.
There's a question whether it's an app.
I mean,
TikTok is an app. What is it?
They all come in the form of apps, of course. So it's a platform, just as how you can have the app of Facebook on your phone, the app of Instagram. So there are platforms, there are websites, but there are also apps. You have the app version, which you use on your phone to interact. Certainly you can access the web version as well, but usually the app is more interactive. So all these platforms have their corresponding apps that go with it. And an app is just a shortened name for application. So just in case we're hearing that term thrown around, an app is just shortened for application, a tool, a resource, right, that you use. So there's an app for everything that you can think of under the sun right now, except to breathe breath into man.
So a number of persons are saying they're seeing the potential for children's ministry.
Yes, do not discount it. I know Reverend Ray is pretty open. I mean, when he told me about Snapchat, that he was using Snapchat, I was like, okay, better than me. I don't even use Snapchat. All right, so let me share again because we're going to wrap, and I do want to spend my final moments on here's what I'm going to do for us all. I have carefully curated these videos, right? We won't have the time to go through all these videos. I will, however, share the slides with you so that in your own time, you can watch these videos and decide, okay, where do I spend my focus, right? Is that fair? Is that fair? Can I see a nod or something to know if it's fair and move on? I love equity, I love equity, right? And we're in a democratic society, so I don't want to hog the thing, right? Okay, so we are going to do that and quickly wrap on how to decide what's best. And then I want to spend, so I'm going to ask you for 15 minutes more, because the last 15 or so minutes could be for question and answer. But after I go, how to decide what is best, I want us to spend some time on, a little time on teleconferencing options, right? We won't, of course, in 2 hours, there's no way we could have gone through in depth in all of these. So with going through this, you will look at the ones that you love, spend a little more time on, and go from there, right? So that's how we'll proceed. How to decide what's best. So according to what is going on and the research I've done and how I've seen people use Facebook, I believe it's a must-have for churches, right? So if you're supposed to choose just one as a base, I would say start with Facebook. Once you've mastered Facebook, because I normally tell people, even my coaching sessions, that when they ask, which one do I start with, which one, do I start with all of them? No. Do not get overwhelmed by all of these, because it's easy to become overwhelmed, and then you're all over the place. You can't serve your constituents because you're trying to engage on Facebook and Instagram at the same time with LinkedIn and Twitter, and it becomes overwhelming. And I don't want you to go through that, because then you're going to quit, and we don't want that, right? We defeat the whole purpose of being here. So my advice to us is, if we're supposed to start, just use one platform. Let's start with Facebook. And then we take it from there, right? And a good practice is to don't just post things. I hate, one of the things I hate is the celebrity status kind of a behavior, where people will post things and people are commenting and engaging and nobody's responding. What, did you just put it there because you want to be seen? Is it not because you want engagement? Is it not because you want to connect with people, communicate with people? If it's just there because you want to be there and be seen, then it's just serving you, it's not serving others, right? So engage. Set, and don't be there all the time, because that's counterproductive. Set a time, perhaps 15 minutes out of your day. Let's say every 2:30, every 10:30, whatever. 15 minutes out of your day, and engage. Perhaps you see somebody, like, you can go through all the people who liked your stuff, and you can perhaps, depending on what the subject matter is, you can do a direct message to John Brown and say, hey, John Brown, I am from the United Church Meadowbrook, and I saw that you like this post that we just put out. Why did it resonate with you? Because that's how conversation, it's not just there to post and leave it and forget it. Start conversations. Why did it engage with you? Why did you like it? What about it that you like? Depending on what it is that you post. If it's something that you think, because some things are more sensitive, I will not get a reaction. And I might also say that generally when you post something, because, for example, if you're posting something about abortion and somebody would have had an abortion, they may not want to like the post or comment on the post or whatever, because it's sensitive. And they don't want, so you cannot necessarily judge your success by whether somebody liked the post or comment on the post or how they engage with the post, because that metric may not be a successful metric. What may be a successful metric is whether they actually inbox you, right? Instead of commenting. And some people, if they don't see comment or like, they think, oh my God, woe is me, right? But that comment, a message in your inbox could mean that, hey, it resonated with me and I still want some help because I'm going through struggles, etc., right? So those are just some things to consider in terms of your engagement. Don't just put it on, forget it. Spend time, find time to interact with people, because that's what the social media platform is about. Being social. Instagram also is one of the best. Again, it's owned by Facebook. And if you're trying to reach younger people, right? For teens and those under 25, I still say up to 35, really, for Instagram. And I'm way over 35. Let me put that there, and I'm on Instagram. So that platform is about being visual, right? And we see how we can use stories as well, and so on. But again, I want to point out, do not discount Snapchat and TikTok, and particularly TikTok, because TikTok has now overtaken Snapchat, right? So those are some of the consideration in terms of deciding what is best. So the closest one to popularity to Facebook is YouTube. And for those people who are more, really visual in terms of, they rather not read anything or, spend some time on reading a post or blog post or whatever, YouTube is great, right? For those between 18 and 49. It is more, reaches more people than the US cable network, for example, right? So you can, I'm giving you some options here. You can upload your choir in action. This is where you can share the whole gamut of your sermon instead of, even if you've shared it live on Facebook, for example, you can upload your sermon to YouTube, or you can upload it to a podcast, right, Karen? Post regular study sessions with some of your members. You can and even answer questions from users. So YouTube is actually great in terms of visual and so on. The thing I don't like, although you have the newer Samsung, I don't know how many phones have this, but I know the Samsung does it. So what I was about to say is not necessarily true. But the thing with YouTube, unless you're using your desktop, you can't be writing and whistling, right? You cannot switch out the screens. Although on your phone, you have the ability to use, well, some phones, to view double screen at once. You can be watching YouTube on half your screen and doing something else in another window, right? I don't know how many phones have that option. But outside of that, if you're somebody who are using your phone and you're switching between screens, then YouTube has some attrition rate simply because you cannot, holding all the factors constant, you cannot necessarily switch between screens like that without losing what you're watching. Twitter is also great as well for sharing quick updates. It's like me sending you a personal message, except that it's not personal. It's so that everybody can see it at the same time. Blog posts you can create a thread. So even your sermon, you can break up your sermon. Although the character, you have up to 260 characters in a tweet, you can break up parts of a sermon, or that's the text that is, and you can create a thread from it. So when you create that thread, it will show you that there was tweet 1, tweet 2, tweet 3, tweet 3, and it forms part of a larger text. So you can create something, create that from it. Inspirational quotes, study resources, and so on. Similar to Facebook, the age range really vary. So you have a wide demographic that you can reach. So Facebook and Instagram, YouTube rather, Facebook, Twitter, a very, very wide demographic there. Now, that's where I'm going to stop in terms of how to decide on what is best. I'm going to move in quickly into teleconferencing options. And let me see. Right, teleconferencing options. And then we're going to leave a few moments after up to 12:15 for some Q&As, all right? All right, so teleconferencing options are simply like what we're doing, and there are a myriad of them. Similar to the fact that there are a myriad of social media platforms, so too there are a myriad of teleconferencing options, right? Some of these are just a few. And recently, I hear a lot of people complaining that, boy, they wish that they had bought shares in Zoom a long time ago, because they would have been really reaping great rewards right now, because with the onset of COVID-19, we see that everything is happening by Zoom, but it is also happening by other platforms as well. Believe it or not, I'm still very big on Skype, very, very big on Skype, and Skype has a lot of capability that Zoom has as well. So Skype is another one. And even I was sharing with Karen yesterday, when I started my podcast, Skype never had the capacity to record conversations, conferencing, whatever. But now it does. I used to use a third-party app so that I could record my interviews and so on and so forth. So Skype is one I don't put here, but it's also great. I like it. People complain about it. I like it. I'm still old school. Is like I'm loving to use my physical books as opposed to reading on Kindle. Yeah, I'm very old school like that sometimes. So these are some, but let's zoom in on Zoom because that's what we want to do. But I want you to be mindful that there are others as well, as I've mentioned before. So here are the difference between Zoom, meeting and webinar, because that's the two major function that it plays, one as a meeting and one for webinar. So the reality is that they offer a lot of similarities, but they have some different functionalities as well. There are differences in their functionality. So meetings are designed to be a collaborative event with all participants being able to share the screen, right? So we are now in a webinar with limited, each participant has limited capacity to engage, right? Meetings are more engaging, so we could do some Bible study, and I'll go into some of the ways that we can use it later. But meetings are more interactive and collaborative, whereas the webinar feature allows only the host and the co-host and the the panel members to have some functionalities to share a screen and share videos and all of those things, and to see who else is in attendance. So that's the major difference there. And I can still share some others with us. Webinars, as I mentioned, are designed so that the host and any designated panelists can share their video, audio, and screen. Webinars allow view-only attendees. They have the ability to interact via Q&A, chat, answering polling questions, and so on. And so as hosts, we can unmute attendees. Attendees in webinar cannot rename themselves as well. So that's another thing. And if I have the webinar, the Zoom help desk up. So I'm going to show you some things in a bit. Perhaps I should go there before I share this. And let me just jump out of this and jump over here. No, that's not what I want. Close that. I can close that too. All right, let me share my screen. Right, stop share and share again. All right, so here we go. All right, so this is from the Zoom support page, right? Meeting versus webinar, right? I won't read, I'll just give you a few moments as think, and just you scroll through and read so you can see the difference. But I pretty much summarized it for us earlier. But this side is meeting because you won't see the heading after a while.
Okay, we have a complaint that it's sort of small.
It's small.
Not seeing it.
Yeah.
But we'll do the screenshot of it and ensure that it is in the material that you get. Don't worry.
Because I mean it's regular distance on it's regular size on my screen. So all right, since it's small, I won't put you through that trauma. So let me stop and come back to where we were. But essentially though, I had given the differences. I'm just going to talk a little about, some ways that you can use the Zoom as we build a church, right? And perhaps you've been doing that already. Midweek prayer meetings, or whenever your prayer meetings are, Bible studies, small group studies, quiz nights. That's a great one. Virtual coffee morning. Now, I think one of the reasons why we missed the in-person meeting was not just so much for, the content of the meetings themselves, but it's the human interaction that we used to have when we have coffee break, or tea, or, we have some fruits or some muffins, whatever the case may be. And we did not recognize how important those were until we're not able to do them again and recognize, we kind of miss them. So yeah, so we can decide, it doesn't always have to be, a Bible study or a prayer meeting, it's connectivity. We were created for fellowship and we're created to be connected to each other. So we can just out of the blue, just decide we're going to have a virtual coffee morning or a tea morning, and we all get our coffees and we share and we talk about, but I'm not sure as in physically sharing with each other, but to share as in, you know, to say, this is what I'm having for, I'm having this type of coffee this morning, or I'm having chamomile tea or whatever it is. And we have a conversation, nothing to do with church, nothing to do with the Bible. We're all churched out sometimes. Sometimes we need a place and a space where we can come together and just be people and just hang out and just, just be connected to each other, right? So yeah, and hang out and go in the breakout rooms and so on. These are just some ideas that we can think of as we teleconference and we zoom in and zoom out and all of these things, right? Some of these platforms I mentioned earlier, let me just jump back up. Some of these are for free, right? Whereas for Zoom, and they offer unlimited, some of them offer unlimited access in terms of people. So you can check them out for yourself and see if there's anything else that resonate with you that you don't have to, because all these little costs in terms of subscribing to a software to keep, so to do whatever you need to do, they add up eventually. So if there's any savings that you can see, try one of these and see what happens. Yeah, maybe you may say help your budget a bit. Right. So that's it for the Zoom. Oh, let's add it more. We talk about, yeah, there's some other things. Set up Zoom breakout rooms, which were, and that is more for the meetings. I don't think the webinar section of that, at least I couldn't do it as a co-host. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it does have that. I think it's just the meeting feature that has the breakout room. Because the last time we were doing this, we had, all right, Yannick, we recognize your hand is up. We're going to keep that until we finish the section completely and go into the Q&A, because we're almost there, right? So, right, as I was saying, that the webinar, the meeting feature, however, I know for sure has the breakout rooms, because we use that and it was pretty good, right? You can show videos. We can even watch a movie together, right? What a movie night. Isn't that crazy?
Night, yes.
2 movie nights, and you all have your popcorn and your sodas. I don't eat soda. I don't drink soda. You all have your popcorn and whatever it is that you're having, your hot dog, whatever. I don't eat hot dog anyway. And so on and so forth, right? Do your videos. And you can record it and share it with those who are not able to attend, answer prayer requests, text short messages of encouragement, a myriad of things. The ideas are endless, 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 endless. So keep it going. I'm glad that you're here, because it means that you have interest in furthering the kingdom of God here on earth, doing your part, playing your role, making sure that the Great Commission is alive and active in our hearts and in everything that we do, right? So another thing, send emails, posting clips on social media. All of these we can do from, I'm editing right now, right, as we speak. All these we can do from our teleconferencing platform and so on. Share it on Facebook. If we want to share it in a group, we want to share it on our page. And did I mention the difference between a group, a page, and your own personal profile? I didn't. Let me answer my own question. So a page is for organizations. It will tell, first of all, when you're setting it up, it will ask if you're a business, if you're a company or organization or whatever, nonprofit and so on. And so that page, a page doesn't get a lot of engagement because, and particularly for business and some organizations, because Facebook really want you to pay, right, to share your content, to share certain promotional content. And so it doesn't get a lot of traction and engagement. However, you need to make sure that you have one just so in terms of indexing, when somebody goes searching for you on Google, if you have a page, it comes up. They can find your church on there. So if it's only for the purpose of indexing on the internet, it's important that you have a page. And the group, like I think I alluded to earlier, that the group is more for closer engagement. So you form the connection on your profile, your personal profile that is there, and you have more deep interaction when it comes on now to the group. So therein, I digress to go back and just share the difference, or difference amongst the profile, the group, and the page. But it was all connecting to how you can use it with Zoom, right? So that is it as it relates to teleconferencing and my presentation overall. No, this is not for you, really. And the presentation overall. Now, I'm going to say at this point, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share. I know I don't know everything, but I know enough to start a conversation, which we have done. And we now look forward to what is going to come out of these sessions. I know there are questions and answer. This is a time for question and answer. I'm going to ask that my dear Karen help me to navigate this process. Thank you.
There are two raised hands.
Okay.
There are two raised hands. Yannick was first, and then Elaine. Yannick, please go ahead. Please unmute. Yannick. Okay, Elaine, are you ready? Go ahead, Elaine. I recognize Richard as well. But Elaine, if you're ready, please do go ahead.
Yes, I am asking if your church has a group, right? Can you do a live broadcast from that group? Say you want to do your church service live. You can do that from the group?
Yes, you can. You can do from a group.
Oh, excellent.
From both group and page, and my personal profile. Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Elaine. It's pronounced Elaine?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay, wonderful. Richard,
Yes.
please unmute and go ahead.
If pertaining to megabits and its use, there are the two providers would say as long as it's social media, you don't use megabits. So on YouTube and on Facebook, it doesn't matter where you are or how long. But Zoom does eat megabits and it is a bit costly. Is there any of these programs which would come under the umbrella of social media? Therefore, you don't have to use any megabits, because there are some persons who have challenges. Many persons have Wi-Fi and you pay your flat rate, blah, blah, blah. But there are some persons who would use a plan, a 2-day plan, a week plan, or a monthly plan, and the megabits would be eaten. I am exploring Facebook Messenger rooms just to find out if that eat the megabits or comes under the social umbrella thing. But could you tell me which one comes under the umbrella of social media, therefore no megabits are used?
Well, so Zoom and all these things, they're not really social media. They're teleconferencing platforms, which is, it's not really, it's a part of new media, just not social media. In terms of the megabytes and bits and all these things, I cannot speak to that, unfortunately. I know, for example, though, that the bandwidth, so I think Craig can perhaps speak to that more. Is that true, Craig? I see you over there. So right. Bandwidth, for example, when I'm doing an interview using Skype, which is what I normally use, or if I'm using Zoom, which I do sometimes, I often ask that people, my guests, not use their videos not turn on the video, because I know that the video eats up a lot of the bandwidth. And so it distorts the quality of the reception, the internet connectivity. So I normally advise against that. I cannot speak to in terms of the data and what use more data than the others. To be honest with you, I don't know.
All right. I could
Reverend Craig, just before you speak, if I may just to everybody, out of respect, We have reached our 12 o'clock mark. I'm asking if you could, well, we passed it, I'm sorry. If you could allow us another 10 minutes and we will wrap up in that time. Please do use your responses to give me the thumbs up if you're in agreement.
Right, right. Yes, and I had asked, it's just I didn't ask for a response. I had just begged and just walked away.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting some okays coming up. Great. All right, I'm seeing some gracious people. Do go ahead, Reverend Craig.
Okay, thank you, Sister Karen. All right. When it comes on to free social media, to be quite frank, free isn't necessarily free. It is not free for you to watch videos. I mean, aside from Lime's, well, Flow's plan with YouTube, they give you free YouTube. As it relates to the other platforms, and just note it's not all platforms, it is only free to send and receive messages. Once you go into the realm of video, you begin to pay. So your data allocation, whether it is megabytes or gigabytes, once you go video, it starts to pull data from there. And once you have exhausted your data allotment for the period, it then goes into your credit, if it is that you have credit. So when these when Digital or Flow suggest to you that it's free social media, there is some fine print, and the only thing free about this is as it relates to text. Video is paid for either in your data allotment or by your credit. So from that perspective, it's not free. To utilize the freeness, so to speak, it would be best, and I'm not making a plug for any particular phone company. It's not a paid advertisement, though they can feel free to make a payment. Flow offers free YouTube. So as it relates to streaming, if it is that your church streams on YouTube, then it would be free for persons using YouTube via Flow to interact with the service. So aside from that, it's only text.
Thank you so much, Rev, for that response. I can't, in terms of the usage of it, like I really couldn't speak to, right? I really couldn't speak to how much usage it eats up and so on and so forth. But I know, as Rev said, it's not free, for sure.
All right. Yes. So just to respond to something that was placed in the chat, it's not all social media platforms that the unlimited applies to. It applies to specific platforms. So it wouldn't apply to TikTok. It wouldn't apply to LinkedIn. It wouldn't apply to Pinterest and things like that. It is, if my memory serves me correct, it is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and possibly Snapchat. But the freeness is only in relation to text. Once you enter the realm of video, you begin to pay. Aside from that, Flow gives you unlimited YouTube, which literally means, well, not literally, but it means you can watch YouTube. They have what they call a fair usage agreement. So it really is YouTube up to a particular point. After that, then you go into, you start paying out of your pocket for that one.
Okay. We have a question. What about Google Meet? And I'm saying to you all that the not recommendations, but the information regarding available platforms for use will be shared in the documentation that is shared with you. We recognize that Google Meet is one of the ways in which the church can come together as well, and we will share that information. But as Henika said, she did not exhaust the possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, I think we do need to bring our time together to a close. I would like to ask you though, I have just a few things to share with you, but I'd like you to participate in a poll. to give us some sense of how you feel about what has transpired here. I have launched a poll. May I ask you to engage in it? It's not long. Please don't disappear. It's not long. And we want to take a screenshot photo of us as well, so please don't disappear. Are you able to see the poll?
Information. Yes.
Okay, I'm seeing a yes.
As a result.
I'm submitting, but I'm not sure if it is submitted.
Okay. Yes, I'm seeing information coming in. It is anonymous, so you won't see your name.
Okay, excellent.
Friends, I'm just going to ask us not to unmute our mics, please. This is just for the purpose of getting the group picture.
Almost half of you have.
Christians.
Thank you so much. You are being so gracious in participating in this. This is helpful for us. I'll leave it just for another 20 seconds or so. Okay, I'm about to end the polling. Okay, I'm going to end the polling now. Thank you so much for your participation. The results are favorable. Thank you for that. And most certainly, we will take into consideration what has been shared. Okay. Folks, this time has been intended to stimulate some thoughts, to give you information, to consider some options, ways in which you can use these instruments to share the gospel, to nurture disciples, to remain connected as a church. Some of you would have indicated, yes, we would like to receive information, and we will do our best to share with you what we believe will be helpful for you. May I just also share with you what's coming up. So we have begun with navigating the digital space. And Heneka would have mentioned some things which would suggest that you need to be tuned in next week, Saturday morning, because we'll be talking about how we develop social media content and how we assess social media content for use. So please, if you have already registered, wonderful, you will receive the link. And if you have not yet, then please do register. The information will be coming your way. This will be followed by live streaming worship services on the 31st of October. And our primary resource person for that will be Reverend Craig Dillon Diedrich. So that's for churches that would want to stream their services beyond the walls of the building. And finally, on the 7th of November, we are talking about how do we produce services for live streaming. You know, we plan our services and we organize for the technology to allow it to go beyond the walls. But we have to so coordinate the service that things are connected, that they flow well and they fit within the constraints of the medium. So that's producing services. And that's on November 7th. All Saturdays, all between 10 and 12. Those are the webinars. And finally, we have some podcasts coming soon, coming so soon that coming has two eyes in it. And these are the three topics. The question, coronavirus, is it a sign of the end times? Another, how do you establish a communication ministry? Heneka was telling us about so many different things, but we want to have a coordinated approach. How do you do that? Some tips on that. And then the United Church has been promoting the building of the family altar. How do you lead worship at home? So these are podcasts that are coming soon. Watch this space. I'm so glad that you all chose to be a part of this today. I know from your responses that it's been helpful to you. I'm hoping that the process for registering was not difficult. You may have seen 2 bits, the registration form from your region. And then when you connected online, you got an invitation to register again. The one from regions was meant to be capture information the regions would use. The one from the webinar itself allows us to capture information and to continue to connect with you. So you will need to register so that we have that information and we can get back to you. I am sure you want me to say a big thank you to our presenter, Heneka. And if you don't know where it is, please find the response and put up applause. Can we do that, right? Yes? Come on, man. Let's give her a round of applause. And if we can't find the emoticon, we can do this. This is what people are hearing impaired do when they are giving praise. We need to say our thanks.
Thank you. My pleasure. I appreciate it.
Great. Now, I see that there are 2 hands, and I'm hoping that they are very quick comments that you will be raising. Hesleen, please go ahead.
I think she may
Or
have
was
been,
that a mistake?
I think she may have been.
She have been trying to do, okay. All right, that's fine. Folks, continue to have a great day. I'm sure it's been a good start already. Yes, so do have a wonderful day. God bless you. And for those who are joining next week, I'll see you virtually. I see you virtually. Our sister June is schooling us. You see, the term is people who are deaf, not people who are hearing impaired. Thank you. We learn something new every day.
Thank
so
you.
Bless Uno, walk good.
Walk
Take
good.
care.
Bless you all and thank you. See you next week. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.